Did you know that we have a forgotten history? In my previous videos, I made 2 videos. This is the third one. In this video, I want to talk about the distribution to the west, that is, the migration of people from Central Asia to the west. In the map you see below, in the green area, in the region called the Upper Ray, a human bone was found, which was determined to be 45,000 years ago, determined by carbon-14. This is a leg, a shin bone. The fact that this bone was found there 45,000 years ago means that people lived there 45,000 years ago, gathered there, and formed a culture. 33,000 years ago, when the Ice Age started from the north, when the ice started to come down from the north, the people there became uncomfortable. They could no longer hunt or survive in any way, so they migrated south and east. Those who went east crossed the Bering Strait into America. Those who went south went to a very interesting region, which is today Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and the junction of Russia and China. That is the Altai region, the Altai Mountains, and its surroundings. After they settled there and developed a certain language, culture, writing, and stamps, they migrated westward. In other words, these migrations happened more or less 13,000 years ago. Because 13,000 years ago, the Ice Age was over. And where did they go? They went to the west. They spread from the Caucasus region, that is the Caucasus, west of the Caspian Sea and east of the Black Sea, southwards towards Anatolia. While some of them came to Anatolia, others went to Azerbaijan. They settled in the Gobustan region of Azerbaijan. The Gobustan region is a very interesting place because it is full of rocks, and they continued to draw the symbols of their culture on these rocks. As you can see in this map, they came from the west of the Caspian Sea to Baku, to the Gobustan region south of Baku, and settled there. This arrow shows their arrival route. I am showing you 3 examples of the paintings they drew on rocks in this region. The middle one is particularly interesting because the middle one has a plus sign under the mountain goat. So these are pictures of them spreading out in 4 directions and going in all directions. They told it with symbols, they told it with stamps, and they drew these stamps everywhere. And I have mentioned and explained in my previous videos that their most important symbol is the mountain goat. Here is this. At the end of the distribution, we see the regions they went to on this map. We have already seen those who went south first. They went down to Mohenjo-daro and the Indus Valley. Then they went to Sumer, Mesopotamia, and from there they moved towards Anatolia. Another branch came to Anatolia from the north, from the east of the Black Sea, from the east of the Black Sea, from the west of the Caucasus Mountains, and came to the Göbeklitepe region that we know. This was about 12,000 years ago, and there, as you know, they built the Göbeklitepe temples. Then this. After settlement and the development of their culture, these migrations continued towards the interior of Anatolia and finally to the Balkans. You can see these migrations on this genetic map. As you can see, the region of origin is Kazakhstan, Mongolia, China, and the Altai region of Russia. At the intersection point, it is clear that they originated from the Altai region, because here on this map, we see the distribution of the RIA haplogroup or RIA gene. The region where this gene is most abundant, the region where it is most abundant in humans, is shown in bold. We see it in lighter colors in the regions where it is found less frequently. In other words, the densest regions are the regions where over 60% of the people carrying this RIA haplogroup live. And so the region of origin is Central Asia, the Altai. From there, they went south, they went down to the Indus Valley, and I explained this. Sumer, Mesopotamia, and finally They spread all the way to the Göbeklitepe region in today's southeastern Anatolia. And I would like to share this gene map with you from another source. This source is a man called David Wright, a geneticist who lives at Harvard and does his research there. Is excerpted from his book. This book is called Who Are We and How Did We Get Here? This person, this geneticist doctor, has devoted himself to this subject and has done deep genetic studies on the distribution of people. After the people carrying this Rebira haplogroup settled in Anatolia, in southeastern Anatolia, in today's Göbeklitepe, from there they spread to central Anatolia and finally to the Balkans. If you look at this map, the title of this map is the distribution map of agriculture. In other words, people there first developed agriculture in southeastern Anatolia. While agriculture did not exist in Europe, they taught agriculture from there to Anatolia, and from Anatolia to the west, to the Balkans, and finally to the Danube coast. When did this happen? 11,500 or 12,000 years ago, and from there they spread to Anatolia. When they spread to Anatolia, they developed a culture in Çatalhöyük 9,400 years ago. And we still find the Çatalhöyük culture in Anatolia today. And what we find there is this symbol that you see in the center. This symbol made of stone or earth, made of clay, was found in the Çatalhöyük section or region. And what is the meaning of this symbol? In my opinion, I see this symbol as a sun symbol because we know and see that this symbol continues as a motif both in the Pazyryk carpet in Asia and in today's Turkish carpets. The Pazyryk carpet is 550 BC. There is still this motif in Turkish carpets today. So did they go there from Çatalhöyük? No, they came from Asia. They settled in southeastern Anatolia and then continued on, all the way to Çatalhöyük in the middle of Anatolia. But this symbol has not been forgotten. The reason why it has not been forgotten is that this symbol is an archetype. In other words, we see it in the carpet because it is the sun symbol that is embedded in the collective consciousness. And the Pazyryk carpet is the first carpet found in the world. This is also a very important symbol. After Çatalhöyük, Hacılarhöyük culture developed right next door in a region close to Burdur. This was developed more or less 9,000 years ago, 7,000 years before Nilatan, and the culture there and Çatalhöyük, we understand that there are very great similarities and continuation of culture. How do we understand this? We understand it from these pictures. The small statuettes of Çatalhöyük on the left, female statuettes, fat women, and these are the ruling women of that period. Although they are called gods, but in my personal opinion, these are ruling women. The same kind of fat women statues are found in Hacılarhöyük, in the region. And so the fact that these two cultures made such similar sculptures shows that they were the continuation of each other. From there, from Anatolia to the west, to the Balkans, through Istanbul to the Balkans, and finally, this culture spread all the way to the banks of the Danube. I think it is a continuation of the same culture, and it is called Vinca culture. Actually, Vinca is not the name of the culture itself. As you know, villages and towns that have always existed in such regions are named after them. For example, there was the town of Vinça, and it was called Vinca culture. Here we see the map of Vinca culture. And as you can see, Bulgaria is after that. And from the Danube, they're spread over quite a territory. Now, how can we understand that the Vinca culture is a continuation of or related to the Çatalhöyük and Hacılarhöyük cultures? We understand it from these statuettes. The statuettes you see here are exactly like the statues from Çatalhöyük and Hacılarhöyük. Maybe they don't look as fat, but it is obvious from their breasts that they are finally women. So we can see that it was also a matriarchal. This is how we understand that it was a matriarchal society, and that the culture of Hachilar-Hoyuk and Çatalhöyük was also matriarchal. This is a continuation, the flow of a culture from one place to another, and the Vinca culture continued from 6000 BC to 3500 BC. That's about 1,000 years after Hachilar-Hoyuk. And a very interesting inscription was found in Vinca. This writing is still unreadable, but it has 400 signs. It is a type of writing made up of 400 stamps. When there are 400 stamps, it becomes clear that this is not an alphabetic script and not a syllabic script, but a lexical script. And in this respect, I would like to show you the following as an example of these writings. Each of these writings, each of the shapes or signs we see here is a word. And these words developed over time into stamps and then into other symbols, into syllabic script. But some of the signs in these words here are directly similar to the Orhan script of the Anatolian Asian culture. If you look at this Orhan ABC that I'm showing you now, this Orhan ABC is actually a syllabic ABC with 38 letters. So it is not a letter ABC, it is a syllable ABC, and each syllable is a word. Because the language developed in early Asia was a lexical language, that is a monosyllabic lexical language, and because it is monosyllabic, each syllable has a sign given and passed on. And these signs have continued from one culture to another over time as a stamp. Now, after seeing this Orhan ABC, I can say from these examples that this Turkish, ancient Turkish, is still alive in our language even today. Why? There are still very basic root words in our language. For example, root words that we use in everyday life, monosyllabic root words such as arrow, bow, come, go. Stay, run, take, give, ask, count, delete. Words like these are not quotations and are the most basic words of everyday life. Let me tell you about the words related to do. Lake, water, mountain, reed, dust, sky, root. All these words are monosyllabic, and each of them is expressed as a stamp and each of them as a syllable. There are also those related to the body, words like hand, arm, eyebrow, tongue, head, knee, eye. This means that a society we can call pre-Turkic developed a monosyllabic language in Asia. The continuation of this monosyllabic language is still with us. Then, by attaching charms to these syllables, they created a long attached language called agglutinative, and this attached language developed in time. But even today, we still have these monosyllabic words in our language. Here I want to show you a few examples of similarities between Vinca and Orkhon letters or signs or stamps. Here I give you 6 examples. At the top you see the Vinca stamps, and at the bottom you see the Orkhon syllabic letters. Here we see how similar they are to each other. That is to say, since the Vinca of the Orkhon and the Vinca of the Crane were a society that settled on the Danube coast of today's Europe, if these two extremely distant cultures have the same stamps, the same signs, we can conclude that the languages must be the same. Therefore, the conclusion we can draw from this is this: a culture that originated in Aksia traveled to Anatolia, first to the Gobustan region, then to Anatolia, to Göbeklitepe in Anatolia, then to central Anatolia, to Çatalhöyük and Hachilar-Hoyuk, and from there to the banks of the Danube. And the rightmost of the Vinca stamps here is extremely important, because this plus sign, the plus sign in the circle, is the sun symbol that I mentioned earlier, and we find a similar one in the Orkhon letters. Only the vertical line has disappeared, the horizontal line has remained, and there are many, many similar words and signs and stamps. But I have shown you only 6 examples here for simplicity, so as not to complicate and prolong the work. In conclusion, we can say that this is the culture that came out of Asia. Through the Caucasus, it spread to the Gobustan region, Çatalhöyük, Anatolia, and the West. Thank you.